Dr. Elena Carter sat alone in the research center long after midnight. The other scientists had gone home, but she stayed behind as usual. She was not only a geneticist, but also a woman with a restless mind. The silence of the lab was her comfort. Computers hummed softly. Machines blinked with green and red lights, and the cold air smelled faintly of metal and dust. Elena leaned back in her chair, rubbing her tired eyes. She had been studying genetic codes all day, searching for rare mutations inside human DNA. But then something unusual appeared on her screen. At first, she thought it was just noise, static signals from the satellite receiver. The lab system often picked up random transmissions from deep space, most of them meaningless. But this one was different. The code was structured. It had rhythm, balance, and strange repeating patterns. She frowned and leaned closer. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she began decoding. With every line, her heart beat faster. The signal was not random. It was information. The more she studied, the more her skin tingled with fear and excitement. It looked like DNA sequences. Not just any DNA, human DNA. The message from space carried fragments of genetic code that matched with human chromosomes. Elena whispered softly to herself, This can't be real." For a moment, she considered calling her colleagues back, but something deep inside her told her to wait. If this discovery went straight to the government, they would lock it down. She had seen it happen before. Science stolen, knowledge hidden, and truth buried under classified labels. No, she decided. She needed to understand this first before anyone else did. She saved the file on a private drive and continued analyzing. Her computer translated the signal into a long string of numbers and letters. She noticed something shocking. The code was incomplete, as if a puzzle was missing pieces. The gaps in the sequence looked deliberate, like someone wanted humans to notice what was missing. Her mind raced. Who could have sent this? Why would alien beings transmit DNA that matched humans? The thought alone felt impossible. The universe was enormous, full of unknown worlds and species. But what were the chances that another civilization out there carried knowledge of human DNA? Her hands trembled. She replayed the signal again, listening carefully. The static cracked, then a faint tone followed, almost like a voice, but too distorted to recognize. A chill ran through her spine. She turned the volume down, but her heart refused to calm. For the next few days, Elena worked in secret. Every time she decoded another segment, the message became clearer. She realized it was not just random fragments. It was a request. The DNA pattern carried symbols and markers that pointed to weakness, damage, collapse. Whoever sent it was trying to say something. Help us. That night, rain lashed against the lab's windows as Elena pieced together more of the sequence. The gaps in the DNA told a tragic story. The senders were losing stability in their genetic structure. Their own DNA was failing. She didn't know how she knew it, but the message felt desperate, like the cry of a drowning voice in the ocean. Elena stared at the screen, biting her lip. Should she tell anyone? If this was true, then an entire alien species was reaching out to humanity. But would humans answer with kindness or fear? She remembered history books full of wars, greed, and conquest. If governments learned about a dying alien species, they might see it as an opportunity for power, not mercy. A sudden noise behind her made her jump. She quickly shut her laptop. But when she turned, it was only the janitor cleaning the floor. She forced a smile and nodded, hiding the storm inside her chest. When she was alone again, she opened the file once more. Her computer beeped, showing a new line of translation. Her breath caught as she read the words forming on the screen. Human DNA, the final hope. The words burned into her mind. She leaned back in her chair, shivering. These aliens weren't just reaching out randomly. They knew about humans. They knew about human DNA, and they believed it was the only chance to save them. The lab's lights flickered as thunder roared outside. Elena felt small and powerless, yet chosen. She didn't know how or why, but destiny had dropped something enormous into her hands, a secret that could change the future of both species. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "What am I supposed to do now?" The screen glowed back at her, silent and waiting. Somewhere across the galaxy, an entire civilization held its breath, waiting for her answer. The discovery haunted Dr. Elena for weeks. Every night she returned to the lab, decoding the strange alien message piece by piece. The phrase human DNA, The final hope echoed in her mind like a whisper she could never silence. Then, one cold morning, everything changed. NASA picked up something unusual, an object drifting at the edge of the solar system. At first they thought it was an asteroid, but the scans told another story. The object was metallic, hollow, and larger than any human ship. It was a vessel, but one that had been badly damaged. Elena was secretly invited to join a small team of scientists and soldiers sent to investigate. She sat nervously inside the shuttle as it approached the silent alien craft. Through the window she saw its surface, scars of battles, cracks running across its black hull, and faint blue lights flickering weakly like dying stars. The closer they got, the heavier the air felt inside the shuttle. No one spoke. The silence was thick, broken only by the soft hum of engines. For Elena, it was more than silence. It was the weight of destiny pressing down on her chest. When they finally docked, the airlock opened with a hiss. The team stepped inside. The alien ship was cold and dark, corridors stretching like veins inside a dying body. The walls shimmered faintly as though they were alive, pulsing with the last sparks of energy. A soldier whispered, "Are we sure anyone's still alive here?" Before Elena could answer, a faint sound echoed through the corridor. A slow, broken breath. The team raised their flashlights and weapons. And then they saw it. A figure staggered into view. Its body was tall and thin, its skin translucent, glowing faintly like glass filled with light. Its eyes were wide, almost human, but filled with unbearable sadness. It collapsed to the floor with a thud. Elena rushed forward, ignoring the soldier's warnings. She knelt beside the creature, her hands trembling. It looked fragile, like it could shatter with one touch. She leaned closer and heard it whisper in broken English, "Help us." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances, but Elena's heart raced with recognition. This was no coincidence. This was the voice behind the signal. As more lights flickered on, they saw others, aliens lying weakly along the corridor, some too frail to move, others clutching their chests as though every breath was a battle. Their ship wasn't just damaged, it was a floating graveyard, carrying the last survivors of a dying race. Elena's mind spun. This was proof of everything she had decoded. They weren't invaders, they weren't conquerors, they were refugees desperate for survival. One of the aliens raised a trembling hand toward her. Its fingers were long and delicate, its skin glowing brighter as it touched her wrist. She felt warmth spread into her body, almost like the creature was sharing its soul. And then, with effort, it spoke again. "Your DNA... hope," Elena gasped. She looked back at the soldiers, but they seemed frozen, unsure whether to trust or fear what they were seeing. The captain muttered, "This could be a trap. We need to report this before doing anything stupid." But Elena shook her head. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. The signal, the words, the desperation, it was all real. These beings were clinging to their last chance, and somehow it was tied to her species. She stood slowly, meeting the alien's tired eyes. In that moment, she knew their journey together had only begun. And somewhere, deep in the darkness of space, another question grew in her heart. If we give them our DNA, what will they become? The alien ship was silent, like a wounded giant drifting in the void. The soldiers set up lights in the main chamber, their weapons always ready, while Elena stood near the frail survivors. The air smelled strange, sweet, metallic, and heavy with decay. One alien, taller than the rest, slowly raised its head. Its eyes were brighter, glowing like silver moons. It seemed older, its voice faint yet clear as it spoke in broken English. "We are dying," it said, pausing between each word as though every breath cost strength. "Our blood, our seed." "Broken?" Elena's heart pounded. She leaned closer. "What do you mean, broken?" The alien's gaze fixed on her. "Centuries. Cloning, no children. Our kind, finished. We searched for life, for hope." A silence spread across the chamber. The soldiers shifted uneasily, their hands tight on their weapons. The captain whispered, "They're admitting weakness. This could be manipulation." But Elena felt something else in the alien's words. Not threat, not trick. Desperation. Another alien coughed violently, its translucent chest flickering with light. Elena noticed the same weakness in all of them. Their bodies were collapsing, their cells failing. She remembered the signal, the missing DNA fragments, the coded cry for help. Her voice shook as she asked, "Why? Why human DNA? Why us?" The elder alien's hand trembled as it reached for the console beside it. With a few slow gestures, a hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed a sequence of DNA strands, complex and broken. Segments flickered red, collapsing like ruins. Then with another gesture, human DNA appeared alongside it. Strong, complete, glowing blue. The alien's hollow voice filled the room. "Your code matches the gaps. You are the last piece. Without you, we vanish." The room went cold. Elena stared at the projection, her mouth dry. The aliens weren't just asking for help. They were asking for human life itself. The captain stepped forward, his jaw tight. "If we give them our DNA, we don't know what they'll become. They could be stronger than us. They could wipe us out." Elena turned sharply. "And if we don't, they die. Do you want to watch an entire species fade into dust?" Tension grew thick. Soldiers eyed the aliens with suspicion, while the survivors looked back with silent, pleading eyes. The elder alien lowered its head. "We do not seek war. We only seek to live." Its voice cracked with something that sounded almost human. Grief. Elena's chest tightened. She remembered all the times humanity had fought over land, resources, power. But here was something different. A civilization on the edge of extinction, holding out their hands not for conquest but for mercy. And yet, fear whispered in the back of her mind. What if giving them human DNA created something new, something beyond human control? Her thoughts swirled as the hologram flickered again. She saw images of alien cities, once full of light, now ruins. Children's laughter replaced with silence. Entire worlds turning dark. The message was clear. Without humanity's help, they would vanish forever. Elena clenched her fists. She had uncovered the truth. And the truth was unbearable. Human DNA was the final hope for a dying alien species. But the question still burned inside her. Would humanity save them, or let them die? The shuttle returned to Earth in silence. No one spoke during the long journey back. The soldiers avoided Elena's eyes, and Elena kept her thoughts locked deep inside. Her mind replayed the alien's words again and again. "Your DNA." The last piece. When they landed, everything changed. The alien survivors were hidden away in a secret underground facility. Guards patrolled every corner. Cameras watched every movement, and scientists in white coats hurried with scanners and vials. To the public, nothing unusual had happened. But behind closed doors, humanity was facing the greatest decision in its history. Inside the conference room, a storm of voices clashed. Generals, politicians, and scientists argued across the table. "They are weak now," a general said firmly. "But if we give them human DNA, we may create something stronger than us. We cannot risk human survival for theirs." Another voice, a scientist with sharp glasses, leaned forward. "Do you understand what this means? An alien species, advanced and intelligent, is asking us for help. If we refuse, history will remember us as the species that let another civilization die." The general slammed his fist on the table. "And if we agree, history may remember us as the fools who created our own destroyers." The room buzzed with fear. Some called it mercy. Others called it suicide. Elena sat at the edge of the table, silent until now. Her voice broke the tension. "They are not invaders. They're broken, desperate, and clinging to life. I saw it with my own eyes. Without our help, they will vanish forever." The room quieted, all eyes on her. A politician in a dark suit spoke coldly. "And who are you to decide for all of humanity, Dr. Carter? You're a scientist, not a world leader." Elena met his stare. "I'm the one who first heard their call, and I'm the one who understands what they need. This isn't about power. This is about compassion." But compassion was a weak word in a room filled with fear. The generals whispered about military advantages, about weaponizing alien bodies with human DNA. The politicians whispered about control, bargaining chips, and keeping the truth hidden from the people. And then came the hardest question of all. If they need a living donor, one official asked carefully, who will be the one to give up their body for the experiment? The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Faces turned pale. No one volunteered. Elena's hands clenched under the table. She could feel the truth pressing on her chest. If no one else stepped forward, the choice would fall to her. That night, she walked alone through the underground facility. Behind glass walls, she saw the aliens, frail, trembling, glowing faintly as they struggled to breathe. Their eyes followed her, not with anger, not with threat, but with quiet pleading. She stopped, staring at them. Behind her, soldiers stood guard, hands on their weapons as though the aliens were criminals instead of dying souls. In that moment, Elena realized something frightening. The real danger wasn't the aliens. The real danger was humanity itself. Fear could make humans cruel. Fear could make them blind. And if humanity turned away, an entire civilization would die, not because they were beyond saving, but because humans chose to let them, she whispered to herself, her voice shaking but certain. If no one else will fight for them, then I will. Days passed inside the underground facility, but no decision was made. Meetings stretched into endless hours. Some wanted to study the aliens like animals in a cage. Others wanted to keep them alive, just long enough to learn their secrets. But no one wanted to talk about what the aliens truly needed. One evening, Elena found herself again standing behind the glass wall, watching the survivors. Their bodies were fragile, their skin glowing faintly like fading stars. Some had stopped moving altogether. Every time she saw another alien collapse, her chest grew heavier. Their time was running out. Then one of the elder aliens asked to speak with her. Security allowed it under strict watch. The chamber was cold and the alien's voice was weaker than before, but its words cut through the silence. Sample is not enough, it said, struggling with each breath. We need living donor, one who gives life. Elena froze. She had expected they would need DNA samples, maybe blood, maybe cells. But this was different. This meant a human body, a human risk, she whispered. If someone does this, will they survive? The alien lowered its head. Maybe. Maybe not. It is sacrifice. Her heart sank. The aliens weren't hiding the truth. To save their species, a human would have to give more than a drop of blood. They would have to gamble their life. Later in the council room, Elena shared what she had learned. The reaction was explosive. A human donor? A general barked. That's madness. No one will agree to that. A scientist shook his head. Even if we tried, who would risk their life for an alien species? No human government will approve it. The politicians looked satisfied. For them, it was an easy answer. No sacrifice, no responsibility. The problem could disappear in silence. But Elena couldn't accept that. She stood, her voice trembling but steady. Then I will. The room went dead silent. Faces turned toward her in shock. You can't be serious, the captain muttered. You'd risk your life for them. For strangers? Elena's eyes burned with fire. They're not strangers. They reached out to us because they saw hope in us, because they saw something in humanity worth saving. If we turn away now, what does that make us? The politician scoffed. It makes us survivors. Why should one human throw her life away for a species that might not even succeed? Elena stepped closer to the table, her voice firm. Because sometimes survival isn't enough. Sometimes the right thing is worth more than safety. If I can give them a chance, then my life will mean something greater than myself. No one answered. The weight of her words filled the room like thunder. That night, alone in her quarters, Elena wrote a letter. Not to her family, not to the government, but to the future. She wrote about mercy, about choices, about the cost of hope. If she didn't survive, she wanted someone to remember why she had chosen this path. When the morning came, she walked back to the alien chamber. Soldiers tried to stop her. Politicians tried to argue. But her decision was already carved deep inside her heart. As she placed her hand on the glass, the elder alien reached out from the other side. For the first time, she saw gratitude in its eyes. Elena whispered softly, more to herself than to anyone else. If my life can give them tomorrow, then let it be. The underground chamber was prepared like no room on Earth had ever been before. Machines from human science stood side by side with alien technology, glowing with soft blue light. Wires, tubes, and crystal-like devices connected together, forming a strange circle around a single chair in the center. That chair was waiting for Elena. Soldiers lined the walls, silent but tense. Scientists whispered to each other, their faces pale with worry. Some doubted the experiment would work. Others feared what might happen if it did. But no one could stop it now. Elena stepped inside calmly, her footsteps echoing against the metal floor. She wore a plain suit, sensors attached to her arms, chest, and temples. She looked fragile under the harsh lights, but her eyes carried a strength no one else in the room could match. The elder alien waited near the machines. Its thin body shook with weakness, but its glowing eyes were steady. When Elena approached, it bowed its head, a gesture of respect almost human. "Are you ready?" one of the human scientists asked nervously. Elena took a deep breath. "I'm ready." She sat in the chair. Metal clamps closed softly around her wrists and ankles. The circle of machines began to hum and the chamber filled with low vibrations. A cold wave passed over her skin, and her heartbeat echoed loudly in her ears. The process began. A beam of light spread across her body, scanning her DNA. On the alien side of the chamber, glowing incubators lit up, each holding fragile embryos that pulsed faintly like dying candles. The machines connected Elena's DNA to theirs. At first, nothing happened. The embryos flickered weakly. Elena closed her eyes, whispering a silent prayer. Then pain struck. Sharp, burning pain rushed through her veins as if fire had replaced her blood. She gasped, her back arching against the chair. Monitors screamed with red warnings. The soldier stepped forward, ready to stop the experiment, but the elder alien raised a trembling hand. "Wait, let it flow." Elena clenched her teeth, sweat pouring down her face. Her body shook as if something was being pulled from deep inside her, piece by piece. Her DNA was crossing the bridge between species, weaving into alien code. The embryos glowed brighter. Their failing sequences began to rebuild. Strands of blue human DNA linking perfectly into their broken red gaps. The monitors shifted from warning to stable, then to strong. The room filled with light. For a moment, everyone stared in stunned silence. The embryos weren't failing anymore. They were alive, pulsing with strong rhythms. The alien chamber echoed with faint, childlike beats, the sound of new life being born. Elena's body went still, her breathing shallow. For a terrifying second, it looked as if she had given everything, as if her sacrifice had ended her life. A doctor rushed forward, checking her pulse. "She's still alive," he whispered, shocked. But Elena was not the same. Her veins glowed faintly beneath her skin, shimmering with the same silver-blue light as the aliens. Her body carried something new, something beyond human. She was living but forever changed. Slowly, she opened her eyes. They were still human, but deep inside, a faint glow shimmered like starlight. She looked toward the aliens, who were kneeling now, tears of light sliding down their faces. The elder alien spoke, its voice stronger than before. "You are the bridge. You are the mother of two worlds." Elena tried to smile, though her body felt weak. Then it worked. In the chamber, the first hybrid life of two species had begun, and Elena Carter, once just a scientist, had become something no one could ever have imagined. Part human, part hope, and part legend. The chamber was silent after the transformation, as though the world itself held its breath. The glowing embryos pulsed with new life, and the surviving aliens bowed their heads in reverence. Soldiers, scientists, even the hardened generals could not look away. They had come expecting fear, danger, maybe even betrayal. Instead, they had witnessed a miracle. Elena lay weak in the chair, her chest rising slowly with shallow breaths. The faint silver-blue glow still ran through her veins, a sign that something inside her had changed forever. She was alive, but she was no longer only human. When she opened her eyes, the elder alien stepped closer. Its voice was stronger now, no longer broken or faint. "You gave us tomorrow," it whispered. "You gave us a chance to live again." Tears burned Elena's eyes. She managed a tired smile. "Don't waste it." The aliens bowed deeply, not just to Elena, but to humanity itself. In their culture, bowing was more than respect. It was a promise, a bond. They were no longer strangers drifting in the dark. They were allies tied by sacrifice. News of the event could not stay hidden forever. Rumors spread, then reports, then undeniable proof. The world learned the truth. Aliens existed, and they had survived only because of one human woman's choice. The story divided humanity. Some feared what this alliance meant. Others were inspired, seeing it as the beginning of a new chapter in history. But no matter the voices of doubt or fear, one truth could not be denied. The aliens had hope again. Their species would live, and Elena Carter would forever be remembered as the bridge who made it possible. Months later, Elena stood once more beneath the stars. Her body was different now. Sometimes her skin shimmered faintly under the moonlight. Sometimes her heartbeat echoed with a rhythm not quite human. Doctors had no name for what she had become. The aliens called her something simple, mother of two worlds. She watched as the first of the alien hybrids took their first steps in the alien chamber. Children, glowing softly with both human and alien traits, running, laughing, breathing. They were proof that the impossible had been achieved. The elder alien stood beside her, his voice filled with quiet awe. They carry your spirit. They are us and they are you. Because of you, our story continues. Elena closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of all the nights she had spent alone in her lab, staring at strange signals in the dark. She thought of the arguments, the fear, the endless doubts. And she thought of the moment she chose to risk her life for them. It had been worth it. Humanity, too, began to change. For the first time, people saw themselves not as rulers of a small world, but as part of something greater, connected to life beyond Earth. Trust would not come easily. Fear would not vanish overnight. But the seed had been planted, a seed of cooperation, a seed of hope, and it all began with one woman's sacrifice. Elena raised her head to the sky, her eyes glowing faintly like distant stars. Somewhere in the endless universe, other civilizations were waiting, some struggling, some thriving, some unknown. And she knew deep in her soul that humanity's future would never again be limited to Earth. The aliens called her the bridge. The humans called her a hero. But to Elena, she was simply someone who chose not to look away when others were dying. That was her legacy.